topic would you guys like to discuss first? Bonds, time clocks.
Well, I say let's start off with the bond issue. And really what's in question with the refinancing of the Series A and Series B bonds from 2005 is what all do we want to refinance with this? Do we want to add any additional future debt or existing debt in with this refinancing? And Ms. Betty, can we? I guess that's some of the questions.
Well, best I can tell, it's not a legal question as to whether you can or not, but what will happen if what they propose to us, if we roll it all together into general obligation warrants, what will happen is it'll be a general obligation of the governmental funds of the city, and it'll no longer be shown on the financial statements as an obligation of the sewer fund. That part of it. So, you know, if you think of your funds as kind of like siblings, you're taking it away from this one and giving it to the other one.
Is there any way we can show where the sewer fund is still responsible for a portion or all of it?
Well, I have discussed it with our auditor at length. We said possibly there might be some way of having a formal due from the sewer fund back to the governmental funds with an amortization schedule and payoff, that sort of thing. It still wouldn't really be bond, that the sewer fund owes bond, it would just be that the sewer fund owes the government funds.
Is there, I mean, does that matter?
Well, when one of these days somebody gets your financial statements and says, oh wow, your governmental funds have more debt than they have assets, there's always that. Yeah, just as long as you know kind of what this will do if you combine it all together.
Well, with the potential savings over the next 20 years of refinancing these bonds, right now at the lower interest rates is going to be somewhere around $120,000 to the city over 20 years. Now, you said there is some negatives to that.
Combining it with other debt.
She's talking about.
Yeah, combine,
combining.
just refinancing the sewer bonds, I don't see how, you know, that sounds good, lower interest rate.
So we could do two separate ones then?
But what the proposal was before was to just lump it all together on general obligation warrant.
Well, I think we initially had the fire trucks in there as well, and then we quickly realized we couldn't do that because the 3 mil couldn't do it. So that would be the same as the sewer. We just have to split it all and then refinance the sewer all into one.
Well, that was the thing, that was the issue I had with the fire trucks, because we traditionally paid out a 3 mil tax, and I wasn't sure how the regulatory authority was gonna feel about us paying fire tax on general obligation warrants. So I think the original proposal was the sewer 2005 bonds, the sanitation truck, and the fire truck.
We had looked at all the debt that we had and was wondering what we could possibly refinance at a lower rate. And so that was the original concept. You know,
Lump it all together in one.
and the reasoning behind that was if we could, the most we could refinance as much as possible to save the city as much as possible over the long run, which that might not be possible doing it all lumped together because of certain technicalities.
I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't want to try to get a lower rate on those sewer bonds. It's 4 1/4 right now.
So you're saying that refinancing those sewer bonds would be great, but if we throw anything else in with it,
You know,
and some of the things that we talked about was the fire trucks. But if you leave the fire trucks out, we still got a big obligation for the bridge projects. You know, if we put that in there, does that automatically change that to become, the whole bond becomes an obligation to the city? Is that what it does?
I'm not sure that it wouldn't, I'm not sure that it won't become an obligation of the city. Because, I don't really know how to say this without, the bonds we have now, they are general obligation warrants. But the reason that they're in the sewer fund is because they were used to finance, the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant, and because the revenues, the sewer revenues are pledged. So, you know, a lot of that's gonna depend on the paperwork when you issue the bonds.
Could we not, I mean, sorry, I'm not very good with bonds and financials, that's not my area at all. Would we not be able to do the sewer bonds, refinance those, get a lower interest rate, bridge and other miscellaneous general, keep the fire trucks completely out, like, let's not even talk about the fire department, because that needs to be left alone.
Yeah, you could.
And keep that separate, so
You-
all the
you can
paperwork's
always
separate.
You can always issue, you know, different debt, but the people that made the proposal, I think that the original proposal was lump it all together in one,
Okay.
yeah.
But that might not be the right direction for us.
And, well, now let's think about this, you're talking about the bridge. If you refinance now, which you can, January 15th, we can, as of January 15th, refinance these sewer revenue bonds. But on the bridge, would you wanna go ahead and borrow the money now? How long is it gonna be before you?
Paying interest on money,
Yeah,
it's just sitting
how
there.
long
sitting
will
there,
it
that's
be
true.
before you actually have to start paying out $300,000 or $450,000?
When do we expect those payments?
Think about that.
Well, I think the last estimate we had on Chevy's bridge max was gonna be like $450, but we're already, do you have an idea of how deep we are into
I
it?
don't succeed in case those on.
At least 50 or 60,000.
50 or 60, at least engineering fees, I think.
Two. So, that's off that 450, so maybe ballpark 350 out of pocket, you know, and that's if construction costs, which I think it will be right in line. Matthew Burgess thinks it'll be right in line with that, so.
How about with Boozer Bridge, what are our out-of-pocket costs looking like on that?
Yeah, the initial estimate was like 60,000, I believe. So I'm thinking 60 to 70,000, probably 80,000.
The gentlemen's from Raymond James, they told us that they could do a bond issue for as little as $400,000. They're willing to do a bond issue at that low level. Now, with the Series A and B bonds from 2005 on the sewer, that's well above that threshold. That's about, what, 1.6 million, 1.6?
6 right now. Oh, well, I say right now, the schedule you have in front of you is as of December 31st, but I think the payments on those may actually come due in January.
They do.
They've already
I got
paid.
the, I think they've already been
Already
drafted
paid,
out.
yeah. A little bit less than that.
So we do want to move ahead and refinance the Series A and Series B bonds from 2005. The question now is, would we want to do another bond issue at this time for the bridge, the matching pay for the grants on the bridges?
I don't really justify seeing paying for it when you're not using it.
And the way it's been going, it's been, I mean, the time keeps on getting pushed.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to be paying a chunk of money when there's not anything that you see any different.
I always do it locally, you know, there's all kinds of flexibility with that borrowing, and then look at.
You could do it local, then.
Then go to a bond when after it's complete.
That and the building purchase and, you know, just little automobile pieces.
Okay, so we want to refinance the Series A and Series B bonds. do you think we could move forward with this at the next meeting? Since this is pretty well straightforward, it's just refinancing 2 bonds, we could get quotes back by then?
I would think so, yeah. Yeah. It should be fairly straightforward. There's not gonna be any refund in it. Unless I'm missing something big.
Should be straightforward. Just a straight refinance.
Okay, and that would actually lower what the sewer fund is paying. While you're here, can you touch base with us real
Can I
quick?
ask one question?
Yes.
What would the rate be if we do refinance? What are you thinking the rates on these bonds are gonna be? They're at 4.25 now, right? So what do you think they're gonna be if we refinance?
The Raymond James people mentioned, I guess it's maybe a variable interest. It would be, you remember that? what they said?
They were saying that it would be,
At some point, it would be less than 1%. I'm not sure about that, but that's what they said.
Yeah, I was thinking like it was 2.9 or something.
It was below
An
3.
average of-
Yeah,
An average of 3 or
It was a
less.
big
Okay.
difference.
Okay, that's what I was asking for, because I was not able, whatever that was, I wasn't able to
It'd
hear
be a
that.
lower interest rate, and so we're looking at less cash coming out of the sewer fund for debt service. We are, just with those 2 bond issues, that's, almost $125,000 a year. Cash comes out of
The 1981 series revenue bonds,
it.
are those to a point where they'll pay themselves
I
off?
think we can. The mayor and I had discussed that earlier. I think there's enough in that debt service bank account to pay them off.
That'd be great.
And just to give everybody up to speed, what we've been doing is actually since 1981, paying a little bit more than what the sketching amount was, and it's been accumulating. And that account that it's been accumulating is now greater than the amount left owed on the bonds. So that too will help alleviate some of the pressure on the sewer fund.
That's another, 24,000 a year. It's going in that.
What are you agreeing for?
I thought from is
Yeah.
what I'm reading about.
We're fixing to spend some of that money.
Yeah.
I think that wraps up the bond discussion.
Okay, I just was asking, I'm sorry, but I was just curious about the rate.
The, time clock.
We had brought up the time clocks, that we were gonna try to get to that point of, having a list of everybody that was supposed to be clocking in. I don't know if we've got that far yet.
I think it's here.
It's, Jared's memo.
Yeah, there it is. This, which is, I don't know if it's on. And I may just be out of the loop and don't really understand this, but like in my work, if you're not on salary, you punch time clock. I mean, it's not real complicated. So I mean, I don't know what the issue, if we're not doing it, I don't understand why we're not doing it.
Well, I wasn't at the meeting that we talked about because of Avery's accident, but I can say that in the school system, everybody clocks in, whether you're hourly or whether you're on salary. It's just a great documentation that shows that you were actually at work that particular day or you weren't. I think salary and non-salary ought to have to clock in and clock out, because it's a great record that someone can say, well, I was at work that day. And if they weren't at work that day, they need to take their appropriate leave. You know what I'm saying? All hours now is automated. You have to sign in on Veritime, which is on the computer, and it keeps up with a log, and it keeps everybody centrally located, somebody's late check-in or whatever. I just think that time clocks are a great way to keep everybody honest. And I don't say anybody's not honest, but it keeps everybody on top of the table talking. I clock punched my clock, I was on time, and I think it's a good idea.
Plus, Debbie, our city treasurer, there's some confusion on people who thought they were salaried, that she didn't think were salaried, and so she really wanted us to, for her to have a list that she could have to go by.
Can I-
Sir?
For public safety, you know, clocking in and out, like I said, it's not the issue with us. We have everybody now on-time clock, except for me. And I'm just on a 42 hour, the comp time, I don't even take it, I'm just 42. We do have even, but what you're saying is, when we go 41 on our log sheet, dispatchers still puts everybody's time down when they go 41. So I'd be still on one, is what you're saying. And that would be it. But the time sheet, the log sheet is court, it's law. I'm talking about the law. Everybody but me as of right now, but still I log in on the log sheet.
That's my opinion. I think if you got salary workers and you trust them to be salary, you need to trust them that they're doing their thing.
There is times when we have to write it in for them, I do
Right.
initially. But it's still on the log sheet. The
Well,
dispatcher
the log
writes it
sheet
down.
is like a
It's
time
law,
clock.
it is.
I mean, it's the same thing, it's just a record that they were at
But we
work.
do have a time clock too,
Mhm.
yes.
That's my point. There is a record that they were at work that particular day. That's my point. I mean, I'm on contract. If I'm not there, they're gonna take the day, but I still have to log in, even though I don't log out. Which I don't understand that either, because we work till we're done. Because we're on salary.
Yeah.
But hourly people have to log out, and it makes sure you don't violate the fair labor law. That's why you want this clocking in and clocking out for everybody, to treat everybody the same. Now, whether we put a time clock down there, whether it's done
We
by
have
dispatch,
one,
it's
dispatch, and that's not an issue for us, I guess.
I think we only have one place that doesn't have one. Is that correct?
I think City Hall's the only one that don't, that I know of.
How about the Field of Dreams?
We have.
Y'all got one, don't you think?
Mhm.
I got my personal time clock up there.
Okay.
Well, the problem that you run into as well is, I don't want any employees thinking, well, I'll just eat at my desk, and then while they're sitting at their desk, well, I'll just take this phone call. Well, if you're hourly and you take that phone call while you're eating at your desk and it's related to work, the city can get in huge trouble for that. So we need to have employees clocking out and not doing any work during their lunch hour. Or if they're gonna work, they need to be clocked in, because you can get into hot water with that.
That counts as work time.
Yes, it does. A simple phone call, because, yeah.
If you're sitting at your desk and people walk in, you get up, you get up and you answer the phone, you answer the door, you talk to people that walk in, you're working.
Yeah.
That's the.
And then
way
the city's on the
Department of Labor
hook.
looks at it.
I mean, there's businesses, not even government agencies, but businesses where you will get fired for that because the business could get fined, big fine. So that's another thing that's kind of been up in the air, where it's just safer to have clocking in, clock out, take your lunch, don't answer the phone, don't look at your email or your work email.
That's what I do.
Do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
On salary,
Sorry, it's not a big deal.
it's different.
Mhm.
And whether you clock in or whether you clock out, whether you, at the end of the week, you got a timesheet that you fill out every day, any of that works for salary people, you know, because it's on the honor system anyway on that. And let's say that that salary person works Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday they take off, so they write in, they put in vacation time or sick leave or whatever they use. Same thing is they work over some hours, they write it down on there, and they take comp time the next week, you know. That's a way of doing it for salaried people where they are not, you know, they don't have to go clock in, because if they're off, they gotta write down what they gotta put down what they were off for that day anyway. So on salary, it don't have to be that you have to clock in. A lot of places that I'm in don't clock in on salary. They would have a timesheet that they fill out, that they actually write down what they done, you know, that week. So, and it's an honor system.
I'm sort of with David, I like the accountability part of it, it keeps everything above board. But I see the complications too, I see the other side of it.
And salary is one of those that you kind of,
Designated spot and start the day, you know, I understand that. But another concern I had was if some of the employees that qualify for salary, if they would want to be on true salary, because it would preclude them from building sick time, which in essence would be like a pay cut.
It would preclude them from getting sick time. Why?
But the two that are on salary, two employees that are on salary now do not build sick time. Because they're on salary, they get paid regardless of whether or not
That's the
they're
same
here,
way I am.
or they have time to fill.
I don't have sick days, I don't have,
Now, they get annual leave, they get vacation according to how many years they've been here. But the sick time doesn't accrue.
that's, just like I said, that's the
So
same
you
way
don't,
my job.
so you don't get sick days. That's what you're saying.
I
So-
got vacation time, you know, but I
If-
don't get.
For instance, they were not sick all year long, attended work, they theoretically could sell that sick time back at the end of the year,
Yeah, the policy.
and that would be the pay
That
cut.
would be the pay cut.
And on the flip side of it though,
Carolee and Mike possibly.
they should accrue sick leave just like everybody else.
No, he's talking about Carolee and Mike, they don't. They're in the system as salary X amount a year.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, Debbie's not sitting there and adding hours on the two, on those two, that's the two you're talking about.
Because I know mine's the same way. Mine
Because
is-
that's how-
Two true.
Yeah, they were hired X amount a month, or a year, yeah, X amount a year.
Okay.
Everybody else is expressed in hours, even though probably they're some salary people, because they would meet the requirements. Some of your department heads would, is that not what Dara had?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of complex.
Very complex.
So what are you saying as an accountant?
Y'all need to define salary.
Yeah, sounds like it.
You can express salary as dollar amount per month, year, whatever, or you can express it in hours. You can say, well, somebody's salary, they're on 40 hours a week. This week they may work 43, next week it may be 32. You know, you can express it both ways, but I'm pretty sure everybody in that QuickBooks company that's on hourly accrues sick leave.
Oh, they did.
It's just the two that are in there with, on the QuickBooks is salary, so yeah, you don't not want to define salary. Define who is and who is not.
Well, and there's a few that would be eligible for salary that have a high amount of sick time built up. So there's that complication of, do they keep it, do they lose it, do they stop building, do they keep building? What category, you know, do they stay in the same category?
That was the question about the one person in the fire department whose
Yeah.
paycheck is now on his salary because of the change in position. You know, do we keep, I think that was one of Debbie's questions, saying that we keep adding, because the understanding was eventually he'd go back to what he was doing before.
I think, but, okay, so I'm apparently confused because I thought every employee accrues sick time, period. No?
Like I said, I don't,
No, we're not talking about
But
you,
you
Brandon, we're
got
talking
to
about
the same
city
way.
employees.
a true salaried employee, you don't, because they get paid whether they're there or
And
they're
that's what the
Whether
sick
they're
time's
sick or
for.
not.
Sick time's
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, with a true salary
true
person,
salary.
you could theoretically say you had to have some sort of service out for 2 months, and you'd be paid for that entire 2-month period, your same rate. So that's the benefit. You could theoretically have a period of time where you had a long absence and you got paid. Now, on the flip side, if you were healthy that whole year and you wanted to sell it back at a half rate at the end of the year, that's where it would be a negative.
I didn't think
To
it was
me-
sell sick time period, it was just vacation.
it is.
It's-
Oh.
We're not talking about,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Sick
like
leave,
some
sick leave and
places.
leave time, you know, vacation time is basically the same. If that's the case, then somebody could just say, well, you know, I'm just gonna not be here next week and go on vacation. Well, they need to turn in their vacation time. They don't just need to use their salary time to do that. They need to have, what I'm saying is they need to have their vacation time built up where they can take off that week. Is that not right?
Well, they get the vacation
Yeah,
time.
but it's the same thing.
Well, I think, yeah, what
Yeah.
you're saying is there's no accountability.
That's right.
But, you know, if somebody says we're gonna be gone for 2 months, there needs to be a little bit of investigation to figure out.
Well,
But that, I mean, but that's when FMLA comes in, not salary. That's why I'm a little off base on this, because if you're gonna be off 2 months for something medical, it's not gonna be sick or salary, you're gonna be filling out FMLA paperwork, regardless if you're salary or hourly.
I thought that it should be that they have sick leave and they bill it, you know, and it should be easy to bill because they're, you know, if they're off a day or something, that, you know, go. But if you're off for 2 weeks, then that's non-productive time that they should be turning in. If somebody had to have some kind of surgery or whatever, they should be turning in sick leave for that time instead of just turning in, you know, being on salary, you know? I mean, that's the way I look at it. I may be totally wrong on that, but that is,
So what would the point of being on salary be? You bill the sick time and then you're given the vacation time as part of the benefit package, then what would you be on salary for?
you would be guaranteed that amount of time all the time, the amount of money. If you worked over 4 hours, you would get comp time the next week. You wouldn't have to take your sick leave or leave time.
Yeah,
You just wouldn't get any overtime.
yeah.
And
So then-
and it kind of benefits the city in a way because we don't have to pay any salary.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have to, I said that wrong.
but
We
on
don't have to
the,
pay any overtime.
but on the flip side, if you're on salary, why bill sick time? Because you don't need it, you're gonna get,
Yeah, you
your
do.
employee's gonna get paid regardless.
You wouldn't need it. I mean, you will one of
Like I
these
said,
days.
it doesn't, there has to be some accountability somewhere, you know.
I mean-
Why are you out?
We've got it set where they can use so many days of sick leave towards our retirement. Well, you know, you get to that point, then you'd have that sick leave sitting there and that leave time that you could leave.
So you're saying that's the real reason?
Well, it could be a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
You're on salary, what do you do?
Well,
I mean, you're not on salary with a big number sitting on our salary page, but, I mean,
I'll work, turn in the 42, 8 to 5, and that's every week. And I say the comp time, I just quit turning it in. I mean, like the parade and all, it's not, I mean, you know, we do a sheet, fill it out. I just, you know, I don't have that a lot of overtime. I try not to. And, you know, you know, 42 hours a week is what I turn in. I don't ever turn in more. I quit turning comp time in, period.
Turns in 42 hours.
But law, in the public safety, as far as under I'm sorry, the labor law, the book, there is some exemptions and a little bit more in depth. I have it, I just don't have it with me. As far as the salary and the sick time. They still have to, even if they're on salary, there's a limited amount of hours that they can work and still have to be paid overtime, but the accountability is there. And I was in the law, that the sick time can still be billed too, but you take it off. But if you're working, what you're saying, like 42 hours a week, you turn in sick time over that. That's what I do. If I'm off, and I turn in my sheet for sick time now.
that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the just
Which they say on the salary.
I've always had the accountability thing, because if something comes up, you always.
Well, Debbie's got real, I mean, she might, that she's good about having us fill them out, and I said, she checks them in. And that's good.
Well, I think the purpose of the dialogue is to make sure she feels comfortable that she's doing what we would
Right,
like
that's
for
what
her
she
to
said.
do. She needed some guidance in who's actually salary, who's supposed to be building sick time, who's supposed to be turning in, they're taking off, and maybe they're not.
Right.
So there comes the time sheet, the time clock, there comes the accountability to make sure we're all on the same page and there's no surprise and somebody's, not fudging it somewhere. And I'm not saying they do it intentionally, but if everybody's on top, talking about it right here on top of the table, there is no way to fudge something. And I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying it keeps us all honest.
Right.
It's like driving through town. If you don't see a policeman, you might speed a little, but if you see him, you're gonna keep you honest and back off a little,
Maybe.
hopefully.
I just really thought that it should be that they accumulate that sick leave, but I may be wrong. Y'all may be totally right,
Well,
How we supposed to.
everybody is. Everybody is.
Except police officers.
Except two.
Except for those two, because of the way that payroll program works. If you put someone in X dollars as opposed to X hours, it doesn't accrue back.
Yeah, they were,
We might need
those were
to.
both set up in last term.
Yeah, they were both,
Yeah.
they were both, like they hired at an annual salary as opposed to everyone else theirs is expressed in hours. Like
I wish my
Charles.
bosses would come to this meeting.
So,
We
But
might-
now when the.
What is-
Yeah, that's exactly right, I might
What
get
y'all
one
were
of
saying,
them.
y'all were saying that if it accrues, then we probably need to go put some figuring, some calculating in there.
would a way to fix the QuickBook thing so that the time would accumulate would be to change their hire, the way they would hire to be so much an hour?
I don't know about that.
I honestly don't understand how the two that are on salary are defined as salary by the federal laws.
Well, your agri-center director, when we started out, that was actually the employee of the city, but at that time, the Public Building Authority reimbursed us for everything. And so
Right.
he does supervise employees,
But there's more,
but they're not part of the city.
but there's still, there's a list, like, initially I thought it was you're over 2 employees. But there's a list,
Yeah.
like what work you
If
do.
you regularly supervise them, if management is the primary duty, and if you have input in decision-making for hiring, firing, promotions and assignments,
And then the actual work that you do.
then, yeah.
And that's the big
If
thing.
the primary duty is management, which but at the time, that's the way it went. And then the other person, I don't know what to say about that either. As far as duties go,
There's a salary test and the work qualification test. And I don't think one of them meets under it, the other one's great.
So is this something we need to look into a little further and get some guidance from someone and do it the right way? I wanna do it the right way, but I don't know what the right way is at this point.
You can hire someone and you can call them salary, even though they don't really meet all these tests. It's just that if they ever do have overtime, you got to pay them. That's really where that.
It's really exempt
That's
and
where it comes into
non-exempt.
play. You can say, we'll hire you, the minimum is $23,600 to even, if you make less than that, you can't be the salary for overtime purposes. But you could hire somebody and say, we're gonna hire you for $15,000 a year, but you need to make sure that you don't, you call it salary, but you just would need to make sure you don't violate any labor law, overtime and minimum wage and stuff like that.
Let's say, we'll just use Sammy for example,
Yeah.
all right? He's gonna be guaranteed at least 40
At
hours.
least got a guarantee.
Year round, it's at least 40 hours. But okay, in the summertime, he'll always work 60 or 70.
Yeah.
So he ought to be accumulating stuff for that? I mean, that's the same way my work. I'm based on a 40 hour salary, but I probably work 70, 75 hours.
Or maybe we've got an employee who's a lifeguard or a pool manager. And during the busy season, when you've got all these activities, you've got a lifeguard that's gonna work during the day and at night, and they're gonna accumulate more than 40 hours a week.
Well, they get paid overtime.
That's what I'm saying, but that's the same principle. If you're having an employee work more than a 40-hour work week,
If
then
don't
they
meet-
should get,
If they don't meet the requirements for salary, where the overtime law is.
okay, but it has to be salary. But if they're hourly, they're gonna get paid overtime. Okay,
If they-
I
yeah.
just wanna make sure we're all talking about the same.
Yeah,
Oranges
and
and
there's
apples.
something in there about the measurement period, whether you, and I know we've talked about this before, right now, we're measuring everything in weeks. Y'all pay everybody by the week, so the measurement period is in weeks on most everybody. You know, a measurement period can be in 2 weeks, can be in a month. I'm thinking that we may have had, at times when we called someone's salary, they didn't really meet all those requirements. We said salary, even though it's expressed in hours.
So the 2 employees where they would lose money is if they're sick more than the allotted sick time when they go to hourly. Am I correct? Is that what the question is? I can't even remember off the top of my head what the
Well,
sick
we're
days are
talking
there.
We're talking about accruing, the difference being that they get accrued sick time. That's the difference right now between.
It's 12 days.
12 days a year.
8
So
hours,
how,
8 hours a month.
so how would they lose time? Because if someone is gone more than 12 days a year, I mean, other than having a surgery or just huge health.
That's where your accountability comes in.
But, I mean, I'm just questioning, because it's not like we're going to, you get 4 sick days a year and you've got children that you have to be out with, you have a sickly husband, you have whatever, and you're out 15 days a year, and now you're not going to be out for those 3 days. You know, so I'm trying to figure out like where they might lose. I mean, we certainly need to talk to them before, but where would they
They're not gonna
lose money? They just need to start accruing time.
Yeah, that would be.
They lose money at the end.
At the end, because it's not built up.
But
The sick time's not built up, so we would have to go back.
So we're,
And
you know,
calculate
we're
what it
gonna
would
give
be.
them 12 days a year, but they only took 2.
Then those 10,
Yeah, those
I
two
got
just
you.
sort of,
See, I know their work's
We have-
hourly, guys.
yeah.
we have to go back and do that from when they were hired? Okay, so if we went back and did it retro from when they were originally hired,
But then
that
we'd
would.
also have to come up with how many sick days they took.
How many days they were off during the period of time?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I think the record keeping is vitally
That's where you're talking
important.
about the accountability.
You know, it keeps us all honest. Well, I was there. Well, you didn't clock in. You know, and I think that's one thing that would help our treasurer is if you don't clock in, you weren't there.
So, because she does have a lot of, and I know because I used to do the payroll, too. Sometimes you just sit there and look at those time cards and go, what?
Well, and if you don't
You're
have
not
a
really-
time card,
You're just not really
period,
sure what you're supposed to do, so.
She needs the guidance from the time clock.
if you don't have a time clock, period, and I'm not saying anybody would do this, but you never know. And an employee gets mad and goes and files an EEOC and said, I never got paid for the lunches I worked. Well, the city doesn't have any records of it, and believe me, the EOC loves employees.
They always.
And I just think it's a good safety net for us to start doing all of this. We just need to figure all these
So if they
little
don't actually
bits
do
out.
it on the time clock, y'all are good with the write-in sheets?
That's what she just said was the
Accountability.
problem, is sometimes people don't fill out those time sheets where they actually can understand what they're saying. But if you punch the time clock, it's a time. Is that what you're saying?
Not, well, I'm just saying sometimes you look at it, you're not sure. Somebody's supposed to be salaried and it doesn't quite look, yeah, there's confusion.
There needs to be a punch.
There's something, yeah.
Unless there's
But
those
just the
situations.
documentation, is really what, yeah, documentation and probably just defining who's salaried and who's not.
Well, that's what Dara did. It's just those two little
She's went through it.
apples that are out there that we need to figure out what to do with the sick time.
I think we're to an agreement that time clocks are important, we need to start using them. This other, deciding what we're gonna do about two particular employees, we need to give some thought to and decide the best plan to follow. Are we sort of on that same page, everybody?
So we need to get a time clock for the city hall.
Yes.
Is there one here?
Rush building, do they have one here?
All over.
Well, we only pay the one employee, right?
The rest of them
Don't come out of our
don't
fund,
have.
so that's not our concern.
Payroll's calculated at city hall.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about making everybody be accountable. then-
We need to do it for everybody.
Yeah, maybe just, maybe a time sheet, fill out a time sheet.
There's some school systems that you can plug in on your phone, and when you're like on the property, you can't clock in if you're not on the property, but if you're like on the property, you can clock in, and that's convenient for some, but that still doesn't really help out the emergency personnel.
I think we need to start, and however many time clocks we need to purchase, I think we need to go and start that ball rolling. At least we're making a good faith effort to go down that path. How much are they? How much was yours?
They're $300-400 for a good one.
Okay, and we need one or two? I think that's a good expenditure.
We need to define these other two, what we're gonna do with it. How we're gonna-
I think we're gonna have to look into it a little bit more and decide what we're going, whether we go back and if there's documentation to do the retro of the time and how we can figure out how many times. I mean, I don't understand, I mean, how long have they been employed?
Wouldn't you just take their yearly salary that they were said, and if they are not defined under salary, divide that up by 52 weeks, by 40 hours, and that's what they get per hour.
If you want to define
I
their
mean-
salary as per hour, express per hour as opposed to dollar amount.
Then that way they don't lose any money like that, then we have to resolve the sick time issue. I mean, that's really, but I'm not saying take any money away from them, I don't wanna do that by no means.
We're just talking about trying to figure out what should be built up, if anybody, maybe one has something built up.
Well, can
where you-
somebody talk to them and just get a ballpark figure of what, you know?
I'll be with one of them.
We need to start that dialogue and say, what are you thinking? And we want to move you to the place where you can accrue sick leave, but we want to be fair to you, you know? Is that the mayor's, can you do that? Or let's just get that dialogue rolling and maybe we can fix it so we're all, is that a nod, Betty, that we're on the right path?
Y'all want to move in the direction of moving them off the salary is what you.
Well, we need to
No.
check on the one we did not check on, I don't believe. The other one we did, and the other one we did not. So we need to make sure on that, because
I'm not saying take them off salary, I'm saying take them off, put them on.
We're just talking about a different way of computing the payroll, just an administrative change there.
What about during all these changes and everything, what about the idea of moving from 52 52 to 26 pay periods. What do you, I know you probably don't care.
I'm on motor 12 times a year, yeah. I get once a month. Gotta make
I
it
know
safe.
personally at FTC, I get paid bi-weekly, so
Get paid monthly.
it's never been a problem with me. However, the gentleman at the shop, they have expressed that they do not want to go in that direction.
Okay. I forgot about that.
Be a lot less labor intensive, if you know, half the pay periods.
I love that.
You don't?
You know, one benefit of every 2 weeks is 2 months out of the year, there's 3 paydays.
I ain't got nobody
It's sort of like
spend
a
my
bonus
money,
with
so-
your budget, you get paid every 2, y'all are the same way, I'm sure. But 2 months out of the year, you get 3 paid.
That's a bonus, almost.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, we've been on the bi-weekly all the time.
I'm one of the last weekly paid persons in the world, I think.
Well, we still got some work to do, at least we're getting leeway, so we've at least narrowed it down.
So just so I have an understanding, what we're really looking at right now is figuring out the sick leave with salaried employees, how to calculate it, how they accrue it. And then, once we figure that out, if we want to make a proposal to move other individuals to salary, we'd already have something in place for the sick leave.
Yeah, and those mainly would be the department heads, but there are certain department heads that are not eligible for salary. They would have to stay on hourly because of the work that they do. And that's in there.
I don't get a damn.
Well, I think that sums us up fairly well.
Okay, all good?
Good. That's productive.
It's already 5:30, so it's time to move into the meeting. We'll go ahead and get started. Meeting will come to order. Graham,
Present.
Holt here, Ledbetter.
Here.
Freeman.
Here.
And Lingenfeld.
Here.
Everyone had a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
I second that.
Motion by Holt to approve the minutes as printed, second by Ledbetter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I have no business to bring before the council tonight, so I will go to Joe.
This is nothing to spend money on. This was something that eventually it'll be something to spend money on. I wasn't gonna bring this up at the workshop. I will have Mr. Dobbins giving us some spec sheets for a new tractor and a new lawnmower. The 2 that we currently have are on their last leg, and I'm hoping to open up bids or to submit them out for bidding at the next council meeting. But other than that, I don't have anything for them.
David?
I have 2 things, well, a couple of things. First of all, we had to replace the pump and the sewer lines down here for a cost of $4,320. I'll make a motion that we pay that expense.
I second that motion.
Motion by Holt, second by Graham. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Secondly, I brought up that we had a truck that was being repaired, and the limit that I brought it was $1,000, and you can see that the expense was much more than that. We need to pay the repair on that truck, and that is not including labor, so
That's not including labor.
so are they gonna send us an additional bill for labor?
Yes, that's just from the parts store where that bill is.
Okay,
That's actually at Rainsville, at the parts store where they got the parts.
okay, so I make a motion that we pay for the parts for the wastewater treatment truck at a cost of $4,075.10.
I second that.
I got one question. What year is that truck?
2007, I believe.
Okay.
What did they have to do to it? That's my
They had to
question.
replace the motor.
Had to replace the motor.
It wasn't that part that you were talking about, Roger. They think that one of the bearings on the crankshaft turned.
So just replacing the motor.
What kind of motor was it out? Yeah.
It's Ford,
5.7.
I don't know whatever they are, Ford.
She did good.
Could not find one, he tried to work at find one. And it's quite a job putting it in. They've been working on it a week.
We got a motion by Holt and a second by Ledbetter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I was contacted by Kay about the tree ordinance. We talked about that when she came last week, but I don't know that we've done anything with the ordinance. Now, I don't know if Dara's actually seen it. But I would like to, propose that Dara look at it, you guys look at it, and let's get this tree ordinance passed. We've got to get it done at the next meeting so that we can become the tree city that they were talking about. But we have to have the ordinance passed, and that has to be done at the first meeting in February, which will be February the 2nd. So just want you to know that that's coming. Will we have to suspend the rules for an ordinance?
The first time that it's presented. First
Okay.
meeting it's presented.
So if we send it out, when you guys get it, please look at it. If you have any trouble or any concerns about it, please get back with me or Kay or Dara, and let's see if we can get this passed at the next meeting. Because something about if we get it done then, we go in last year's budget, I'm not sure. And also up to date, the new signs for the city, the wrought iron signs we approved to purchase, those are progressing along. Representative Ledbetter has been placed on the transportation committee in Montgomery, so if we run into some hiccups, he's gonna try to help us with that as well. There was a law passed, and I forgot the year, that any sign, even if it's off the right of way, has to be approved by the transportation department. So we're trying to make sure we do everything by the book, and make sure all those signs are put in the exact same place, but it does meet the specifications of the state. And I think that's everything that I have.
I'm gonna wait till the next meeting to do an update because I have a meeting Thursday with our partnership. So it will be complete by next meeting, so I'm just gonna wait.
And I have nothing.
Had some calls today, talking about the Freedom Fest. I know this is early in the year, but I've already got some people interested in entertainment, different things about it, car shows. We have set that date for June 27th, Saturday. So I was just gonna go ahead and put that out there, and that we are probably gonna start meeting on it, May next week, just to kind of get everything rolling on the Freedom Fest.
What year is the fourth fall this year?
What?
The fourth, what day, what year,
On
not
a
what day? I'm sorry.
Saturday, I think.
Saturday.
Yeah, and this will actually be the Saturday before,
Yes, it's exactly a week.
exactly a week before. And we try to keep that a week before, at least a week out. That way we're not affecting anybody else. It kind of gives us a shot at, being one of the first ones around. I think, and to don't hold me to this, I think Jerry's gonna talk about the run being somewhere like the week before that, maybe the 21st. But I'm not positive about that yet. I haven't talked to Jerry, but we talked about it a while back. But anyway, I don't have anything to spend any money on. I just wanted to mention that. Had a lot of good work on the ball field this week. It's coming around real good. New softball field is. Everything's coming good on that.
Don't be ready. TV.
Yes, I hope so. And on the library, just talk about the library, should have some new shrubbery and stuff put out down there, flowers and whatever. The garden clubs are gonna be working on that, so they should be working on that over the next few weeks. Ricky and them went down there and pulled a bunch of the old shrubs out, and it looks good. So we're ready to start back with it now, putting everything back in there.
When is the first ball game at the new
I
field?
don't even have to schedule.
I don't have a schedule.
They had your list that they started throwing yesterday, so
So it's
you're probably looking,
last of February,
yeah,
1st of March. I think they said something about last of February.
yeah.
Was that about a month?
Looks like we just had, no,
Didn't
it
have
doesn't
a
even feel like, yeah, sorry, that's what I meant to say.
While we're still talking about softball, this sort of goes into the youth sports and Sammy signups.
Sign-ups will be this Saturday from 10 to 2 at the Field of Dreams, and the following Saturday, the 31st, from 10 to 2 at the Field of Dreams. January 24th, and January the 31st, from 10 to 2 at the Field of Dreams.
I did forget about something, time clocks. We need to make a motion to buy 2 time clocks. So I'll put that in formal motion to buy 2 time clocks to go, one at City Hall and what was that one? Here, Anderson. So,
Second that.
Motion by Lingerfeld, second by Ledbetter, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Can I say one more thing? I thought the chamber banquet was a huge hit last week. Great food, great entertainment, awesome wait staff.
Very awesome.
very good,
Staff.
very good. They done a great
Whoever
job.
is over there is
I don't know, but
fabulous.
they must be wonderful.
Yeah, had some really good training.
They do do
I
a good
thought
job.
it was a hit. I mean, all I heard is great things.
He's hilarious.
The grandkids bought the DVDs and they were laughing about stuff that was in them, so
Oh, yeah.
Me
They
too.
went straight home and listened.
very entertaining. It was great. I commend the chamber and whoever had a hand in it. That was excellent.
Tim got a little skin up at
But that was funny.
Just a little bit.
That was funny.
He took it well. He's a good sport.
I make a motion, we pay the bills.
I second.
Motion by Holt to pay the bills, second by Ledbetter, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Motion by Lingerfeld to adjourn the meeting, second by Ledbetter, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I mean,